The global warming hypothesis, as originally stated, is rooted in the idea that increased carbon dioxide levels and other things in the atmosphere will cause an increase in temperature. So from the viewpoint of an environmental chemist, what you have here is a change in chemical composition on a global scale. So therefore, that viewpoint on the story makes it very much a chemical problem, because we're talking about, again, a change in chemical composition of the global atmosphere. All the evidence I know of, not only direct temperature measurements, but ice cover, snow cover, things like that, point to the fact that the planet is getting warmer. All the evidence in terms of measuring concentrations of greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, but also methane, nitrous oxide, and halocarbons like chlorofluorocarbons, those are all, increasing, and relative to their baseline prior to the Industrial Revolution, they've been rising very quickly. And even if you don't believe the circumstantial evidence, you can essentially radiocarbon date the carbon in the atmosphere, and that suggests that the carbon that's in the atmosphere comes from some subterranean source. An oil well or a gold or a coal mine would be a likely culprit that would explain that. So there's circumstantial and physical evidence that back up this idea that humans are doing things that could potentially cause a change in temperature. Carbon dioxide and methane concentrations have very much tracked with changes in global average temperature, which has by no means been a constant, but those things all seem to go together. But the fact that they go together doesn't necessarily imply a mechanistic relationship. The mechanistic evidence in favor that they're related is, first of all, that we know absolutely that carbon dioxide and methane absorb radiation, which in a colloquial sense means they trap heat. The other mechanistic proof here that I believe is really solid evidence is the performance of global climate models. The nice thing about the models is they're great for what-ifs. You can say, well, what if we didn't increase CO2? What would global temperature be? And it gives you a different answer. So by running those models both with and without the greenhouse gas concentrations, their performance changes dramatically. And they model average global temperature very, very well if you include the effects of the greenhouse gases, and they don't model the temperature very, very well if you don't include the greenhouse gases. The warming period that has been more dramatic and more pronounced that started emerging from the background in 1975 is very, very well modeled by having greenhouse gases in the model. And without the greenhouse gases in the model, the prediction for temperature is flat or slightly decreasing. So there's really, really strong evidence that the last half of the century global warming, that which we've been experiencing in the last 35 years, is really due to greenhouse gas concentrations, among other things. And one of the things that I think has been out of place all along on this issue is the burden of proof, and that people want to say, I want you to prove global warming is real. And my response to that is, well, someone really needs to prove to me that you can put a heat-trapping gas in the atmosphere and not increase the temperature. So there's a much broader story than greenhouse gas concentrations, and I think, unfortunately, the conversation in the media and policy really focuses on that. In the end, when you go through the long-term scientific analysis, that's where the problem seems to lie anyway. But it's not because people ignored all the other factors. And I think that's one common misunderstanding, is that scientists are only looking at one possible cause, and that couldn't be further from the truth.